Hello and welcome to another interesting episode of the Reflection series, where listen to stories that refresh us. And today we have a very interesting guest, Janette Wright. Janette found the Brahma Kumaris Gold Coast Center in the mid-60s and immediately embraced the concept of applying what she was learning to a home and working life. She lives on the Gold Coast and has been retired for 16 years, spending her time helping at the Gold Coast Meditation Center, as well as working on varied projects within the Brahma Kumaris. She also has a keen interest in supporting the environment by living simply and eating food grown using organic methods. And the title for the story today is Observing the Signals in a Conversation. Observing the signals from others in a conversation is just as important as listening to what is actually being said. And Janette had an experience of this many years ago and has never forgotten it. So very interesting to know what Janette learned, what signals she got. So without further ado, a very hearty welcome, Janette, and it's over to you.
Thank you, Lata, for that introduction. Yes, very interesting experience that I had. It was probably over 25 years ago that this happened. And I had found the Brahma Kumaris many years before, and I was regularly meditating and very keenly putting into practice what I was learning so that I could use it for my own self-development. And so that's a little bit of the background of where I was at this particular point. We had a friend who had a daughter who was around, I suppose, 16, 17 years of age. And this girl decided, not because there was anything happening in her household, really, but just, I think, something that some teenagers like to do. They want to sort of spread their wings, I suppose. She decided that she wanted to leave home and she was going to live in a room above a pub. And we all sort of thought, oh my goodness, this is not the place for a girl of that age to be. And she was a quiet sort of girl. It was a strange choice. She was quiet and she didn't drink and didn't smoke and wasn't going to parties or all those sorts of things. So my husband and I decided to have a chat with her parents, because we were all good friends. And so we decided that that we would invite her to come and live with us rather than go and live at the pub. And so we had a chat to her and, put this to her, and she immediately said, oh, yes, I'd like to do that. It was quite a sigh of relief, I think, for her and for us to know that she wasn't going to be in that sort of environment at that age. And so the good thing about it too was that we only lived a few kilometers away from her family home, so she could still stay in contact with her friends and still, mix with the group that she was used to mixing with. So that was really good. So life went on just fine for a while. It all was working out very well. But I came to, feel that she was experimenting with smoking. And I thought, oh no, what do I do about this? This is not a good thing. And so one day I said to her, is it okay if we sit down and have a chat? And she said that was okay. So I went into a room and we were both sitting on her bed and having a bit of a chat. And she was a girl that really didn't communicate that much. You know, she was really hard to have a conversation with her in the first place. So I was just explaining that because we cared about her, that smoking wasn't a really good thing, and pointed out some of the health hazards and about it can lead to addiction and all that sort of thing. And I was getting very abrupt answers of, I don't care what happens to me, and who's going to care anyway, and these sorts of things. And I was thinking, oh, you know, what do I do about this? So I persevered for a little while longer and was just getting absolutely no response. And I don't know if you've ever experienced, you know, talking to somebody like that, where they put out the image that they're not listening, they don't want to care, and that you feel that the shutters have come down. And that's what was happening in this conversation. So all the feedback that I was getting was, I don't care, and nobody cares. And a very strange thing happened to me, because it wasn't really in my nature to have this reaction, but suddenly I just thought, I'm just getting up off this bed and I'm walking out of here, you know, nothing's working. And fortunately, I was able to catch that thought. Maybe it was the negativity coming from her that was affecting me, which was a bit unusual for me, but maybe it was that made me have that feeling. But fortunately, I was able to overcome it and just stay sitting there and get myself back into a place, I suppose, of feeling love for her and what she was going through, because I realized that teenagers do go through a lot of issues. And so, yeah, I stayed and I kept talking, and I was reassuring. I mean, that talking was that I was reassuring her that everyone did care, and, you know, her parents cared and we cared what happened, and that she was loved, and, you know, just kept on with that positive reinforcement all the time, feeling really that I was talking to a brick wall and that nothing was being absorbed. And that was really difficult, because I don't know if anybody else has had that experience of you know, trying to communicate when you're not getting anything back, because normally a conversation is a two-way street, but there was nothing coming back to me. And so I worked through that. I just made sure that I stayed calm and was giving love. And after a while, I sort of thought, well, this, you know, conversation really had gone on long enough. And I just said to her, well, I'll just leave all of this information with you to think about. And again reiterated that I wanted her to understand that she was loved and we did care about what happened. And I gave her a hug and I left the room, and I really felt quite shattered, actually. I thought, well, I've done the best I could. I stayed, and I hope that, you know, something good will come of this. And life went on for quite a few days, and nothing was said about the conversation. And so I thought, oh, well, we'll see what happens. And then one day she walked up to me and said, here, you can have these. I don't need them, and walked away. And she gave me a box of matches. And the sense of relief that that had happened, but also the understanding of what had taken place during that conversation, that even though she appeared to have shut down and wasn't listening, what I was saying had actually been absorbed. And that, in a way, sent shockwaves through me to really grasp how important it is to listen, and not listening to the words when you're talking to somebody, but listening to what they're not saying, and listening and picking up on the vibrations that are coming from them. And even though they might be negative, that underneath that, there could be quite a story that they're, in a way, trying to tell you. And so, as I said, I learned a very big lesson from that situation, and thought to myself, what could have happened had I not overcome that feeling of wanting to get up and basically storm out? You know, what could have happened if I had done that rather than staying? So, yeah, it's really interesting, and I've tried to do that. You know, from then on, I tried to do that when, particularly if you're having probably an in-depth conversation with somebody, whether it be a relative or a friend or whatever, to try and pick up what they're observing, you know, what they're not saying, because there can be a whole lot of information that you need to take on board and maybe help them with, or point them in the direction of where they can get some help for what they might be going through. And I do understand that, you know, a lot of teenagers do feel that there's sort of unloved and nobody understands them and all that type of thing. So it's not that they're often wanting to do some of the things that they do, but it's, you know, can be just a way of trying to get attention, to draw attention to the fact that, you know, they're feeling unloved, or that they're not being heard, or things like that. And it also, that whole scene gave me an insight into the power of our thoughts and how we can use our thoughts in a positive way, and also how we can be affected by negative thoughts, and how it's good to be able to recognize that, so we don't absorb those vibrations of negativity, and we're able to give out the vibrations of positivity. So it was a huge learning curve for me. And yeah, again, to say that the fact that I had thought that she'd shut down, when in actual fact that wasn't the case. And with that same girl, along the same lines, another interesting thing happened when it was her coming up to her 18th birthday, and said, oh, we're going to have a party, invite all the family and everything. And again, I got the response, I don't want a party. And so I said to her, well, that's fine. But I said, we would all love to have a party for your 18th birthday. So we're going to organise it, and we're going to have it anyway. And I said to her, you know, it's your choice. If you want to come, that's fine. And if you don't want to come, that's fine as well. So all the families and the relatives, and we all made the arrangements and prepared the party, and came the day. And who was there with the biggest smile on her face was this girl. So, and again, that was another wake-up call. What would have happened if we'd all taken notice of the fact that she said she didn't want a party? When she was just so thrilled and happy to be there with everybody and have that 18th birthday party. So, yeah, I think that's, you know, it's all about observing those signals when we're communicating with others, and understanding, you know, what is needed to be done under the circumstances. Yeah, so I don't know, do you have any questions or comments about that, Lada?
Yes, a very, very, very interesting story or experience that you've shared, Janette. So, yeah, as you know, the phrase says, read between the lines. It's
Yes.
a bit like that.
Yes.
So, you are not just listening to what someone's saying, but also what they are not saying,
Yes.
in case they are not saying anything. Yes.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
and as I say, you know, communication is 10% verbal, but the most of the communication is non-verbal.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's a very interesting thing that you've shared today.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, you know, what we're learning with our meditation is that with our positive thoughts, that we can really help people to overcome lots of things, and sending good wishes to people who have problems or experiencing difficulties. So that the power of our thoughts is a power, is a great power. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because as you said that you were also, you know, at a moment thinking to step out and go away,
Yeah.
but instead you stayed there and, you know, supported her. And that is what made the difference. Though
Yeah.
she might not have reciprocated or said anything at that time, but, you know, the intention and the vibrations did end up helping her eventually.
Yeah, that's right. And had I walked out, that would have confirmed her worst fears, that nobody did love, nobody cares. You know, had I just gone at that point. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And I think it's also in situations where, you know, sometimes we may need some help, or there are some sudden situations.
Yeah.
And there are moments where we need to kind of pick signals instead of just going by the words. I think it's a good practice to train ourselves to pick signals which are not seen, or, you know, which are not heard in a way.
Yes. Yes.
And do you think meditation helps us in training ourselves in that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it does, because it puts our mind in a calmer place. And so when, you know, if I'm calm, I'm able to pick up those vibrations. Whereas if my mind is racing around and it's got all sorts of thoughts happening and it's all busy, it's not going to be able to pick up those signals, because there's too much traffic happening of all those other things. Yeah, yeah. So I definitely think, and that's what I feel, that the meditation practice that I had been doing for quite a few years beforehand, I think that really helped in that situation. That was what had helped me to sort of overcome that urge to get up, that I knew that, no, you need to be here and you need to calm this whole situation down. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. It's like seeing the good, though the external is appearing as something else, but still there's hope and, you know, that positive intention that things will be all right and everything will be okay in the end.
Yes.
I think that mindset is what helps us in the long run.
It does.
And definitely, as you said, meditation is a tool to, you know, keep us on that path.
That's true. Very true. Yeah, so I've been able to use that my meditation practice many times to help me get through situations that were challenging. Yeah. So, I mean, that's not the only one that I've had experience with, but yeah. Today, that was what really stood out for me. Yeah, this is what I need to pass on, that you know, that story about that girl. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Janette, for sharing that story with us.
That's
and
okay.
As you mentioned that you have been practicing meditation for a long time, would you like to give that experience to our viewers as well? If you could lead us to a meditation commentary, that would be wonderful.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I can do that. I just sit quietly and comfortably, and imagine that you are taking a walk in your very favorite place. This is a familiar space for you, and you feel comfortable and safe there. You see a seat and sit down to enjoy the surroundings. You allow yourself to go inward and reflect on the story you have just heard. Observe your thoughts about listening. True, deep listening to the needs of the self and to the needs of others. You are now feeling very calm, and you understand that peace is your true nature. Because you understand this, you will pass it on to those you are interacting with. You will do this through your vision on them, your body language, and your voice tone. The words you speak will come from a place of love. This will all come naturally from your initial thought of being peaceful. Enjoy this peace. Now observe how you have relaxed. The tension has drained away. You are a peaceful soul. You see that you are sitting in your favorite place and feeling so peaceful. Now bringing this feeling of peace with you, slowly leave your favorite place. And bring yourself back to the present. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janette, for giving us that experience of peace. And thank you for our viewers for joining us today. And if you would like to know more about us, please do visit our website, www.brahmakumaris.org.au. And all our programs and the addresses of our meditation centers are listed on. So thank you once again, Janette, and we will come back with another interesting episode of the Reflection series. Till then, take care, keep catching the signals. Om Shanti.